From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MVW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready. Clark Ford Studio this morning. Jeffrey Wright joining us here in a little bit for an extended interview today. Pretty much the majority of the podcast. I think Jeffrey was with us 48 minutes or something like that this morning. So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit on the podcast, brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon. Head on over to Highway 6 West. Save some money at the pump with the Speed Pass Plus app, the mobile rewards program, and much more. When you head on to the convenience store, check out the daiquiris, the ribs, the lunch specials that are $4.99, and many other items they have for you there at the Oxford Exxon. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number that you call. You call it, you ask for Corey Clark. You tell him what Ford you're interested in, what Ford you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's truly that simple. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. There's none of that uncomfortable stuff where you got to feel each other out. You just say, hey, I'm interested in an F-150, and this is what I'm looking for, and he'll send you a quote. And then from that point, you can let it be a baseline for you moving forward, or you can do what I've done, and that's get yourself into a Clark Ford. You'll love the product. You'll love the service. The people are great. They take care of you. Corey wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy. He'll prove it to you once you make that call, 662-257-1900.
So we'll get to Jeffrey here in a little bit. We'll get to Ole Miss's schedule in a second as well. We talked about that with Jeffrey for a second, but I'll read it to everybody that's been under a rock the last 18 hours or so. It came out around, I guess, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, something like that. But this was on the message board, Neal. I did click it. You might not have clicked it just because of the horror. If you need a new gig, if you need a little side job, reading that in Florida, they're paying people to kill pythons.
Yeah, I did not click the link. I saw it. I'm aware of the story. They're basically completely screwing up the food chain down there.
Yes, the pythons, which can grow over 20 feet long,
oh my God,
have eliminated 99% of the native mammals in the Everglades, decimating food sources for natural predators or native predators such as panthers and alligators. So essentially it's killing everything because of these pythons, so they are sending people in, paying them to kill pythons. More than 3,000 pythons have been removed from the Everglades since 2017, not counting the reptiles removed by the public in python hunts, according to wildlife officials. But those efforts have not been enough, experts said on Wednesday.
No, I'm all for, completely for, whatever it costs to put an army of python hunters together. I do not want to join said army. No thanks. Put some brave souls who are and let them go kill them all. Pay them handsomely. I'm totally serious. Whatever. Make it where every one of those like crazy guys, it's worth it for them to go down there and make that their job. And I'm being not even a little bit hyperbolic.
The 12-foot python that was next to the governor or whoever was talking during this weighed about 50 pounds and is about 7 years old. Hey, here's a quote for you if you need something to help you sleep tonight. A 16-foot python could have 60 or 65 babies running around. The population just explodes, Ray Hill said.
Well, you know me, everybody else raves about Florida. I don't like Florida. No interest in Florida whatsoever.
This is akin to that spider we talked about on the podcast that time. It's the size of a dog that's in the Amazon or wherever it is. Dinosaurs still exist. Monsters exist. They just have different names now.
Yeah.
Monsters exist. A spider the size of a dog, a 20-foot python, it's a monster.
So what are these python hunters being paid?
I don't know. It's not enough, though, whatever it is. Do what?
I'm totally serious. I think you got to, you know what I mean? You got these crazy, and I'm not making fun of them, just kind of crazy wild guys who love sport like that. Pay them such that they're incentivized to stay down there until the job is done.
It would take paying. Is there a number, or would you just never do this to begin with?
There's no dollar figure that can make me do it. I would not. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't even know how to start. I guess you shoot them, right?
I don't know. I'll just give you a machete and you can get to work.
No.
They're quite large. I'm looking at pictures.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Please, everyone, don't send me those photos. Please. You're invading my safe space when you do that. Point of personal privilege, don't do it. It upsets me.
On a happier note, Ole Miss has a 2020 football schedule because we obviously were in doubt that would happen for some reason. So it was really big news when it came out yesterday. You can start planning your weddings for the fall of 2020. You can get the calendar set up for a year from now.
It works out good for us, by the way. There's a couple of Ole Miss goes to Fayetteville, which is good. And a couple weeks before that, Ole Miss's open date, Arkansas plays
Halloween.
Tennessee.
Ole Miss is open on Halloween, by the way.
Yeah. And Arkansas plays Tennessee and Fayetteville that day. I know nobody else cares. I get it. But for us, we looked at it like, well, that's good. If everything's going well, that'll be fun.
Yeah, you have a little different view of things now, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah. All right, Ole Miss opens against Baylor in Houston. We already knew that, so back to Houston for that one. Southeast Missouri is the FCS bye game the next week, the home opener on September 12th. And then, as we mentioned with Jeffrey here coming up, kind of a 3-week period of death. Ole Miss desperately needs to get at least one of these. Auburn, LSU, and Alabama. Auburn at home, LSU on the road, and then Alabama back at home. And then, as you'll hear me say in a bit, I think coming up after that, very, very critical for Ole Miss. At Vanderbilt, Florida at home, Middle Tennessee at home. That's October 24th. The open date on the 31st, and then at A&M, at Arkansas, Georgia Southern 5 days before the Egg Bowl at home against Mississippi State. It's a weird schedule.
It is a weird schedule. It's a difficult schedule. I had, for whatever reason, and I wasn't alone because I was in the Manning Center. We were waiting for the post-practice stuff to start when the schedule got released. I don't think that many of us knew that the Thanksgiving thing was this permanent.
When it was initially announced, it did not come off as this permanent.
I won't go on a whole rant about this, and I don't want to upset anybody. I'm just telling the truth. It's a bad idea. College football, in my opinion, should cede Thanksgiving Day to the NFL. Give it to them. The NFL has turned that into a triple header day. That's what people are watching.
You're going to get the Cowboys, you're going to get the Lions, and then you're going to get a night game.
Yeah, and this year you're getting Saints-Falcons. So, seed it. Say, hey, that's your day. Kind of like everyone does with Christmas Day, where they say, hey, NBA, that's your day. That's your day. The NBA does not play on Thanksgiving Day. They could. They don't. They say, this is an NFL day. Take your day. Have your day. Smart move on their part. College football should learn from it. In much the same way that for almost the entire season, the NFL says, we're not going to play on Saturday. That's the college day. We'll play on Thursday. We'll play on Sunday. We'll play on Monday. But we won't play on Saturday until the college season is basically over, and then we'll throw a few Saturday games in. Thanksgiving night is a bad idea. And I know I'm biased. I have to cover it. It kills my day, all that stuff. It's a bad idea. play the damn thing on Friday or Saturday. Thursday doesn't work.
I guess they get ratings that make it okay. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
I think it's ESPN just looking to put something on television.
Yeah, because you have everybody around a TV. So, okay, sure.
But the guy in Dubuque, is he going to watch the Egg Bowl or is he going to watch Saints Falcons?
Well, he's watching Saints Falcons. That's not.
Yeah, exactly. I like the Friday afternoon game that CBS does at 1:30, the Missouri-Arkansas game. It's kind of, even though nobody watches it, I mean, nobody really cares. People watch it because it's the only thing on. So maybe the answer is CBS does a Friday doubleheader.
Oh, they can take the whole day. Put games on all day.
Play a game at noon and then a game at 3:30 on Friday. That's the day that everybody goes. I'm being stereotypical here. All the women go shopping and the men lay around on the couch and watch football. You'll watch college games on that Friday, and the NFL's not going to compete against you. The NFL has claimed Thanksgiving Day. They've won it. You're not going to beat them. Quit trying to force that square peg into the round hole. And it's not fair to the kids either. They didn't. They just played on Saturday. Now they have to play on Thursday.
I mean, Ole Miss has a 5-day turnaround with a little bit of a. I mean, they're not going to lose, but a weird game against Georgia Southern. You've got to really prepare for that week before.
Yeah, and so you got to then turn around and play at home against Mississippi State. And if you, I don't know. I think the game would get better attendance. I think the game would be more interesting on Friday or Saturday than it is on Thursday. I just don't think it's a good thing. Play it on Friday afternoon. Nobody's working that Friday.
I'm so used to it being on Thanksgiving that it just kind of is what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. We'll cover it.
I kind of like having that Saturday off.
Yeah, I'm just kind of talking from an overall standpoint. I'm of the opinion that it doesn't work.
State plays Alabama A&M on the 21st, by the way.
Well, that's Advantage State.
And they're at Kentucky the week before that. The day that Ole Miss is in Fayetteville.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just glanced at their schedule. They have Kentucky and Missouri as their teams from the East next year. It's a gift.
State has Kentucky and Missouri?
Yeah. Next year. That's their East teams.
It is kind of a gift.
Georgia has Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah, Georgia-Alabama will be the super hype game.
September 19th.
Ooh, early.
September 19th. Georgia opens against Virginia and then plays East Tennessee State and then at Alabama.
So that's the day that Ole Miss plays Auburn at home.
That is correct, yes. Yeah. So I know what the 2:30 game is that day.
They might put that thing at primetime.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, you should, absolutely.
Play that thing at 6:30 and dare anybody to go up against it.
Yeah, put it at 7 o'clock and play a 2:30 game leading into it.
Yeah.
2:30 game's over at 6, then you have a 1-hour pregame, and then boom.
Frankly, Ole Miss and Auburn would be a pretty good lead-in because Ole Miss probably 2-0. You go ahead, you get them a game there early before if they do have some losses. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's not a bad spot for that game. I don't know who Auburn opens with. I'll have to look at that. But
Hugh Freeze coming back to Oxford as the Auburn head coach. Be very entertaining.
Auburn opens with Alcorn State.
Undefeated Hugh Freeze is coming back to Oxford.
Auburn plays North Carolina the week before they play Ole Miss.
Yeah.
In Atlanta. Phil Longo
versus Hugh Freeze. God, the storylines are just right there. I'm kidding about Freeze, by the way. I don't think Auburn would hire him.
How do you think he's going to do at Liberty?
Oh,
I think well.
I think he should stay there forever. I think it's probably a perfect fit in a lot of different ways. I think he's a good coach. He'll outcoach a lot of people at that level. They'll worship him. That's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean. A lot of his hokey stuff that I think normal people roll their eyes at, I think there it will be embraced. So I think he'll do well, but I think he's always going to have at least one eye on the SEC. I've heard people talk about Auburn. I've heard people talk about Arkansas if things don't work out with Chad Morris. Though
that feels too
Chad
similar.
Morris gets at least this season and next season before anybody at Arkansas pulls the plug on that.
Yeah, absolutely. He was not good on the field, but he did gain some capital on the recruiting trail. He gained as much capital as you can gain, considering they weren't, frankly, the class was not that good.
Yeah, they recruited well, and towards the end of last season, at times they played okay. Not great, but okay.
It's a really weird Liberty schedule. They have a home and home with New Mexico State.
Yeah. Liberty comes to Oxford in 21.
I think it's 21. So you think he's there in 21?
What is he? Is he waiting for the SEC? Would Vanderbilt hire Hugh Freeze?
I don't know. He opens his season August 31st against Syracuse at home.
They get Syracuse in Lynchburg?
They do. That is their opener.
Damn.
It is not on television. It is on ESPN Plus.
What time?
6 p.m. We could cue that up on the computer when we get back.
Thought.
Yeah, so Syracuse at home, at Louisiana Lafayette, Buffalo at home, Hampton at home, New Mexico at home, New Mexico State in Las Cruces, Maine at home, Rutgers in New Brunswick, New Jersey,
Okay.
UMass in Amherst, BYU in Provo, at Virginia, and then close against New Mexico State at home.
8-4-ish probably. I mean, I have no idea what Liberty has in terms of talent, but
You got to think they're going to lose to probably Virginia, Syracuse, BYU.
yeah, those three for sure.
And then one more. Yeah, sure,
And
8-4.
maybe to New Mexico also.
Do what now?
They could lose to New Mexico.
Dude, I have no idea, so sure. Beats me. He is recruiting. He did have a nice class given their position in things.
Well, he checks till mom, and that's important on the recruiting trail.
But nobody cares. It's Liberty.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I was talking to Jeffrey about that yesterday off air, is that didn't become a thing. Nobody even made the joke because it's Liberty. It's almost impossible to get brought up into a national conversation there.
That's why he should stay there forever. He won't. He's going to try to get out. He wants to coach in this league again, my opinion.
Liberty went 6-6 last year. They lost to Army, North Texas, New Mexico State, UMass, Virginia, and Auburn.
In my opinion, there's going to be two openings in the SEC. So let's just say I'm right. It's Auburn and Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Would either one of those two schools hire Hugh Freeze now?
Vanderbilt would way before Auburn would.
I think so too. And I don't know that would Hugh Freeze take the Vanderbilt job.
We shouldn't.
But would he? You're not winning the SEC at Vanderbilt. No chance. Never happening. And you know me, I'm not a never guy. Never.
Yeah, you're not doing what you would be coming back to the league to do, which is just have an opportunity. You don't even have an opportunity.
You'd be coming back to the league.
They've never signed a top 100 player.
Yeah, knowing that a lot of people want to make fun of you and want to ridicule you, you would be walking back into a situation where you would make it very easy for that to happen.
Yes.
And I just don't think if let's say Auburn opened up, I just don't think he'd really be able to get that gig.
I think I agree with you.
Auburn's not a top 10 job. They think they are, but they're not. But they're a top 20 job. And that's going to get a different caliber of coach.
I also don't think, even if an SEC team wants to hire him, he's going to replace Malzahn or Morris. I just think it's, whether you believe the friendship crap or with Morris, it's kind of the same dude. I just think, you know how that stuff works. It's like Ole Miss with the Chancellor search right now. There's a large group that go, hey, Vitter didn't work, so let's get the exact opposite of Vitter.
Yeah, if you
Same thing happens with coaches. Same thing happens with girlfriends or boyfriends when people break up. But I'm the opposite.
Yeah, it's true. If you told me that the Arkansas thing fell apart over the next 2 years, I would tell you that they're probably not going to replace Chad Morris with Hugh Freeze.
No.
They're going to go get a football guy, hard-nosed guy.
Frankly, more of a Brett Bielema kind of guy.
Yeah, it's why just change for change's sake. Be careful.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, when you break up with the like high society girl and you start dating Bambi with an I, it'll be a different deal.
You subscribe? Do you worry about females with an I for the last letter? Is that what you're saying?
You got to be careful.
Okay.
That I's there for a reason.
I feel like Jay Tate really prescribes to this theory.
I mean, I'm not saying, look, there are exceptions to every rule.
Tiffany with an I at the end?
Tiffany with an I. I'm not saying you count her out. I'm saying you do need to take a step back and say, okay, now it's not her fault that her name ends with an I. But someone named her, and I need to figure out how much of that she inherited.
Good.
On the hot crazy matrix, there's a chance that crazy's off the chain.
Okay. We will talk to Jeffrey in 1 second. I hate we recorded already and can't get into this topic, but there's always another week for that. And time is now, though. If you're interested in purchasing a home, Community Mortgage can help you out with that. They're one of the oldest mortgage companies in the Southeast, and all underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting that understands your market. They're a leader in condo financing and the float-down option. So you can get the lower rate, even if maybe you've already locked one in. If it goes down, you get the lower one. 662-234-2704, JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
I know I'm supposed to read some ads right here, but my attention deficit disorder is kicking in. Did you see where there's going to be a major league game played at the Field of Dreams field next season?
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
The New York Yankees and Chicago White Sox are going to play a regular season major league game at the Field of Dreams in Iowa next season, August the 13th, 2020, Yankees, White Sox.
I can't get the sugar out of my teeth right now. Just saccharin everywhere.
Well,
nah.
I got so many questions. Are they going to do it with just the little stands that are there now?
Are they going to wear 1920s uniforms?
They have to do that. Are they going to put a fence up instead of the cornfield?
Did you say Yankees, White Sox?
Yankees, White Sox.
So are they going to wear the Black Sox uniforms?
Cornfield and catch a ball? Oh, the White Sox have to wear the shoeless Joe Jackson.
That's what
uniform.
I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you there was no way I could read ads without talking about this for a moment. I have lots of questions.
It is the take that I catch the most crap about, hating that movie.
Well, I'm a baseball guy, and I'll admit it, take my man card. I'm kind of a love story guy and all that stuff, and I don't like Field of Dreams.
It is so just dramatized to me.
I mean, I know this shocks people. I'm kind of a romantic, but I'm not. Field of Dreams is just, nope. I can watch Billy Chapel over and over and over. Over and over and over. I can't watch Field of Dreams. Bull Durham, in. I like the love story angle of it, all that stuff.
It will be the first ever Major League game played in Iowa. It is a White Sox home game, as it should be.
The Iowa Chamber of Commerce. I'm proud.
They will get an off day the day after that, and then they will resume their 3-game series back in Chicago on Saturday.
That's just
later this month. MLB will begin construction on a temporary 8,000-seat ballpark at the Dyersville site for the pro game. The plan is for a pathway through a cornfield to take fans to the ballpark, which will overlook the actual movie location, the league said. The right field wall will include windows to show the cornfields behind the ballpark. So now we're really doing a publicity stunt because we're not even going to play in a cornfield. We're building a park and then having stalks all around it.
So they're not going to play the game on the actual field?
No, they are constructing a ballpark. Do you know what Jerry Reinsdorf said?
I don't. I just saw this a moment ago.
Field of Dreams is an iconic generational baseball story built upon a deep love of the game that transcends even the most impossible of circumstances. The filmmakers tell a beautiful story that resonates to this day. It is an incredible honor for the White Sox franchise to be the home team against the Yankees, and a special setting that will capture everyone's imagination just like the movie does. It seems very fitting that 30 years after the film's debut, MLB will build a ballpark in an Iowa cornfield where we will come to play a game so that baseball fans can create their own memories to be cherished for decades.
You know what they say, if you build it, Ray, they will come.
That never true. Proceed.
All right. I told you about it yesterday. I have some details today. Friday, September the 6th. You're all invited because you listen to this here Potato Log podcast. Blue Delta Jeans and Wonderbird Spirits. They're hosting a hog roast. Fitting, it's the day before Ole Miss and Arkansas in Oxford. It's at Wonderbird Spirits in Taylor. Chase and I have been there. It's a really cool place, cool spot. A whole hog roast. Hosted by Blue Delta Jeans. There's a cash bar. It starts at 6 o'clock. The hog is from Neon Pig, so it's going to be catered. It's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Chase is in a golf tournament that day. I don't know whether he'll be conscious enough to be there. I'm going to make every effort.
It's a Blue Delta golf tournament, so we're having a full day of Blue Delta.
Yeah, full day of Blue Delta. I'm hoping to... as someone who probably won't be playing golf.
Why would I not be conscious after a golf tournament?
It'll be hot.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you've had a couple of libations.
Okay.
You're going to be getting up early to go, although you get up early anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, 6 o'clock out at that's the 6th of September. It's the Friday, the day before Ole Miss and Arkansas at Wonderbird Spirits in Taylor. Make your plans to be there. This podcast is also brought to you by 7 South Tailgating. 7 South, the premier tailgating service provider at Ole Miss. They offer all your standard stuff, but they also offer so much more. They'll set it up, break down, and store your personal gear. You can rent from them. They've got cooler, ice, beverage service, TV, satellite, generator service, storage bin for supplies, chandeliers, tablecloths, carpeting, tent sidewalls. Basically everything except a guaranteed win. 7 South provides it. Call them or go online today for a detailed quote customized to your specific needs, 662-321-1682, or visit 7southtailgating.com. We're also brought to you by Oxford University Bank. OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB offers its customers the absolute best cash checking account. It's called Kasasa, and with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000. Refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more, go to liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market better than Harry. Go to his site, and harryalexander.com. Go to SavannahSquareOxford.com. He's a big part of that development. You can learn a lot more about Savannah Square at the model home at 215 William Street. So if you're coming up for the Arkansas game, we're giving you a weekend full. We're telling you how to tailgate. We're telling you what to do on Friday night. And if you have a little spare time, check out Savannah Square get in touch with Harry, 662-801-5621. And on your way up, stop at Grenada Nissan. It's just off Interstate 55 in Grenada. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. They've got a complete selection, great lease deals as well, phenomenal service after the sale. They'll take great care of you. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Now here's Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey, we did about 90 seconds of pre-show this morning, got you on the horn, just kind of talking about topics. You seem quite giddy about Jalen Ramsey and his little excerpt about his college days as far as getting into the heads of opponents.
That's my DB that you're talking about. That's my DB.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. What have been your thoughts on Jalen Ramsey prior to this week? I need to set a baseline here.
I was never like the shut up and play football. I gave in the spirit of full disclosure, I gave the driving up in the Brinks truck a 9 out of 10. And the only reason why I deducted a point was if the whole point is you wanted to get paid, which I completely understand with, I thought the better joke was bring in the Brinks truck, the security guard, hiring a security guard was a extremely well thought out touch. You cannot dispute that. But I would have had an empty Brinks truck. I would have opened the doors and yelled out to the entire football office, come fill it up. Like, I thought that was the stronger joke. So that's why I gave it a 9 out of 10. I did not believe him when he said that he was going to focus on the football this year, just because he has a long history of doing this. In general, I lean towards being a fan of him in general. And then I saw the headline last night, and I jumped out of my seat and yelled, "Oh my God!" And then I read the story. And then I read the story, and it was even better. So the headline is, Jalen Ramsey admits to DMing the girlfriends of opponents the weeks of games. And I was like, you have my attention. And you zoom in, and you find out that he would find out from the Florida State coaching staff who he was going to be covering in man coverage the next week. He would find the girlfriend on Instagram of whoever that receiver may be, and then he would immediately start sliding in those DMs. And I love it for not only the psychological warfare reasoning, it's also a power move, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say those young ladies that were dating the wide receivers, they might perhaps have cleat chasing intuitions. And Jalen Ramsey, it wasn't very difficult to look up. You could go about and find on any draft board, and you can realize, like, ooh, top 5 guy. And she's probably available, if we're just being honest. So she's probably going to be available.
Had I told you what like happened.
On 10 different levels, that thing's amazing.
Had I just told you what happened, but I didn't tell you the player that did it, you automatically think shutdown corner, right?
Absolutely.
That is the position that does this.
First thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes. I don't need. Because linebacker's too football guy. Linebacker. No way it's an offense or defensive lineman. Fat guys have the confidence issues in terms of, like, there is, I guess it's conceivable there could be one, but in general, there's no offensive lineman that thinks he's going to be picking up the receiver's girlfriend.
Yeah. An offensive guard's not walking into the bar going, I could have anything I want here.
As one of Ben Still's friends, I can confirm. And his wife is a beautiful girl.
It would take a Laramie Tunzel type to have that confidence.
And I'm not even sure
the left tackle that knows it's coming.
Because he's a big guy, and that doesn't.
Yeah, I get it.
Now it's got to be a corner.
Or
and I don't think this is a quarterback thing either.
You know, I was going to say a corner, an elite wide receiver, maybe an elite running back.
But then who are you targeting? The middle linebacker?
Yeah, it's a wide receiver.
The only options, now that we talk this out, the only options are DB, and really corner, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
although after watching Hard Knocks, Jonathan Abram might have also. If you told me this was a Jonathan Abram story, I'd believe it. But to me, it seems like it's either got to be a receiver or a corner.
Where does Brentwood Academy fall on your hate list of Tennessee private schools?
It's high. It's not what it used to be because we don't have the setup that we used to have. So now they've split the state into regions. Like, for instance, we used to every single year, we played Brentwood Academy. We played Brentwood. We would play MBA. We would play Baylor and Macaulay. And there were 3 divisions in the private school league. And so you played everyone that was in your division. Now you only play the teams in your region, and then you don't see, like, for instance, we would play every team in our league that competed for a state championship during the season. Now you only play the teams in the West Tennessee area. Like, we've played NBA and Brentwood as games that don't count to your conference record, but it's just not as it goes to prove Neal's theory. A huge aspect of a rivalry is you got to play every year.
Absolutely. Can't be a rival if you don't play every year.
I just, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I find myself agreeing with Neal.
The other thing comes out yesterday, Dabo Swinney, he's going to be a pretty good villain for a while from a media standpoint. He's going to be fun to talk about, considering how much he's going to continue to chide the SEC.
Is he a villain, or is he a current WWE heel where everything he says is true? It's just a certain fan base that is really susceptible to, I don't know, propaganda hates him.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying he's wrong or he's a villain per se, but he is going to get the ire of the people that you talk about.
But let's break down what he said. He said the SEC had 2 really good teams last year, and everything else was just sort of meh.
Let me also add this, Neal, not to cut you off, but former colleague Aaron Suttles of the Rivals Network hosts a extremely popular radio program with friend of the program, Ryan Brown, in Birmingham. Aaron said the exact same thing on my show last week.
Swinney's quote, "Listen, the SEC is a great conference, but I don't think they've been as deep the last few years. I think they've had 2 or 3 really good teams, and it's kind of been hit or miss from there. It's an awesome league for sure. I know people say that Alabama was tired because they went through the grind and had to play all those teams. Well, they won by an average of 33.1 points per game, so they ought to be well rested. My thing on that is, are you serious? They're tired? Then you look at Clemson. We won 12 games by 20+. Who really challenged Alabama in the SEC? They didn't get challenged by anybody until Georgia in the SEC championship game."
Awesome!
It's more than fair. It's accurate.
Let's go through their schedule. Louisville and Orlando. No, let's do this. Louisville and Orlando.
Is this last year's schedule?
Yeah.
This is last year's schedule. Louisville and Orlando, 51-14. Arkansas State, 57-7. Ole Miss on the road, 62-7.
Ole Miss was not a good football team.
A&M with one of the greatest backdoor covers of the year. The rare double win in which I had the Alabama first half line, A&M for the game, 45-23.
And A&M was a very average football team last year. They were okay, but there was nothing. You didn't ever watch them and go, man almighty, those guys are good.
Louisiana Lafayette, 56-14.
Yeah.
At Arkansas,
they were a bad football team. They went 2-10.
They lost to Ole Miss, 65-31. Missouri at home, 39-10. At Tennessee.
So hold up. Slow down. Missouri last year had a second-round pick at quarterback, and they were decent. But you never watched Missouri and went, boy, I tell you, they're right there. They're okay.
No, they were exactly kind of what they were. They were
all right.
They were in what I think they go 9-3 in the East. I think they went 9-3, and that's
I don't know. They were okay.
Yeah. At Tennessee, 58-21.
Awful football team.
At LSU, 29-0.
And LSU last year was just meh. They were a lot like A&M. That's why they played 17 overtimes. They were basically the same team. We saw LSU. They were okay. They weren't bad. I mean, you wouldn't watch them and say that's a bad team. But you didn't watch them and say that's a good team. They were just kind of there.
And then I think the best team they played up until this point was Mississippi State. They beat them 24-0.
And Mississippi State last year, good team. They weren't bad.
Great defense, brain dead on offense.
Yeah, so there was nothing about them that just wowed you. They were solid. They were fine.
The Citadel?
They're awful.
They closed with Auburn?
And Auburn last year, meh.
Well, they beat them 52-21.
I mean, but when you watched Auburn last year, we saw Auburn. You said, they're okay, they're good.
Ole Miss would have scored touchdowns. Ole Miss should have beaten Auburn. Auburn lost to Tennessee at home.
Yeah, but you never asked my point. I mean, so what Dabo said is right. And here's the truth. It's been this way for a while now. Nick Saban, in his last 80 SEC games, is 71-9.
That seems effective.
Their excellence has destroyed the league. That's reality. The league is nowhere near as deep and talented as it once was. It's all a propaganda machine now.
Is it, well, let me go there. Is it as not deep and talented, or is Alabama just so much more talented that if Alabama wasn't there, people would just think the league was very talented because everybody beats up on each other?
Maybe
is it technically any different from a talent standpoint as it's ever been?
I think the league used to be. I think the league, as far back even, if you go back 10 years, I think the league top to bottom was stronger. Now the top has gotten elite.
Yeah.
And
question, Chase?
Yeah.
Yes, the programs were better years ago because they would get some of the talent that Alabama got. And so their teams were actually better than they are now. Alabama and Georgia now accrue so much of the percentage of the talent that it leaves everybody else sort of in the lower class.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I just think when you look at it, how many legitimate recruiting battles does Alabama lose a year? 3, 4?
Maybe. Same for Georgia. They don't lose any.
That's what I'm saying. We saw Georgia come into Horn Lake, Mississippi, and get a linebacker.
Especially when you can't count the ones they lose to each other because that's the same difference. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so if you throw those out, they might not lose but 1 or 2.
Take a break in our talk with Jeffrey to tell you about Mastercut's Lawn and Landscape. They offer premium lawn care throughout northern Mississippi, but they do a lot more as well. Mastercuts will build your custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces with paver patios, starting at just $3,000, and forestry mulching starting at just $100 per hour. The path to your dream backyard, easier than you think. You can get an online quote at gomastercuts.com, or you get that same free quote at 662-607-7773. Again, gomastercuts.com.
We're also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. Whatever trip you've got planned, you want to make it special, you want to make it memorable, and the best way to do that is by getting in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners. It allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. Get in touch with John, give him a budget, give him some parameters. He'll give you options, and you can know this. It can be options that you can't come up with on your own because of his connections, his experience, and you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. Podcast also brought to you by our friends at the Westin Jackson. They're the sponsor of my mailbag, which went up midday yesterday. The Westin Jackson is a Marriott property right there in downtown Jackson. You can accrue or use your Marriott rewards points there. It's also a place where you can revitalize your soul, your body a little bit. Visit Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. And then you can also enjoy the libations, the cocktails, and the food at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Chef Caden's terrific. You'll love it. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch, all at the Westin Jackson in downtown Jackson. And we're brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi. It represents clients in more than 20 states. It's founded in 1997. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan that's built just for you. To learn more, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee. I mean, Nakobe Dean's a great example. Pre-Kirby Smart, Nakobe Dean goes to Ole Miss. Yeah. He's probably a starting linebacker at Ole Miss as a freshman.
And he probably goes to State. Freeze wasn't really great at recruiting those.
Okay, but he goes to one of those two schools. He goes to Mr. State. He doesn't leave the state. And there's just kids like that all over the place. I mean, Alabama and Georgia are recruiting at a completely different level than the rest of the league. Even though I know someone's going to come back and go, well, the rivals rankings, I don't care. I'm not making fun of Chad Simmons and all those people. I don't have any idea. I'm just telling you, I know what my eyes see.
Well, also, rankings are relative. I mean, Alabama and Georgia are usually 1 and 2. Rankings are just done in order. You can still have the 7th-ranked class, but that doesn't mean the 7th-ranked class in 1 year is the same thing as the 7th-ranked class 10 years ago.
So yeah, somebody's got to rank 7th no matter how many points they have.
Right.
So let's look at going into this season along the lines of what Dabo's saying. What do we really expect? What do we truthfully, when we boil all the hype and stuff away, what do we really expect this year? We expect Alabama and Georgia both to win 11 to 12 games and play each other in Atlanta.
Yeah, we expect Alabama, Clemson 5.
Yeah. After the Alabama, but I'm just saying in the SEC, after Alabama and Georgia, who do we really expect to be a good football team? Who would you, outside of Alabama and Georgia, who would you be willing to really bet on and say, they're going to win a bunch of games, they're going to be really good, and when I watch them, I'm going to say, man, they're good. Is there even one of the other 10, 12 teams that you would put your money on?
No, because it's same like the ones that come to mind, and see if you agree. The ones that come to mind are LSU, but yet again, we're in the same situation.
Same deal.
Ed's gonna open it up. Okay, well, it's all well and good to say you're gonna open it up, but every offensive lineman you've recruited is a big ugly. Those aren't exactly great for running the spread. And I don't know, I don't know if Burrows is the type of guy. I mean, I know Ohio State recruited him, but I don't know if he's the type of guy you want throwing it 35 to 45 times a game. Like, I just don't know.
Ed Orgeron riding with a 29-year-old pass-happy offensive coordinator when I see it.
Yeah, and there is a history of him saying he's going to do this and then them going back to doing exactly what they've always done.
I think he'll do it until the first 2 3 and outs, and then he's not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, but yet again, they are talented enough. But I mean, how many times have we said that?
But that's what I'm saying. So they're not bad. You're not going to ever watch LSU this year and go, man, they suck.
No, they could win 10 games. I could not believe in them.
Yeah, they're going to be okay. Auburn's going to be the same way, right? I mean, you're going to watch Auburn. They're really good up front on defense, have some talented linebackers, got some talented skill players, but they have a lot of question marks at quarterback. I expect Auburn to be sort of what Auburn's been the last couple of years, which is you'll watch them and go,
they're starting. Neil, Jay was on with me Wednesday. Like, he's more convinced that it's going to be Bo Nix. They're going to be starting a true freshman. And then on top of that, I agree with everything you said about their defense. But this Auburn's offensive line is not one of their better offensive lines.
No, it's got question marks all over it. So I sort of expect, I expect to watch Auburn and go, they're okay. I expect sort of the same thing with A&M. It's the one team in the West that's intriguing because
speaking of digging in
at a pretty high level, and so maybe, but I don't expect that to really show up this year. If you told me that it shows up next year, maybe, but I don't expect this year to watch Texas A&M and go, oh boy, wow, look at them.
Well, and their schedule's brutal. That's in fairness to Auburn. That's the other problem with Auburn. Auburn doesn't play at home in the month of October.
But I'm just talking about the look test, Jeffrey, where you
Sure, the eye test. Yeah.
I mean,
I think this is what you're hitting on, because remember when we were covering Ole Miss in like 2014, 15, 13, 14, 15, I feel like the conversation that we always had was we'd watch the best teams come in. Like, for instance, those Alabama teams that we saw, we all would kind of look at each other and like, they're clearly better, but they weren't invincible. And then you would always, to me, like, it was a bunch of teams that were kind of all similar, and whoever kind of had the better day that day would win, and whoever was the most consistent would be kind of 9-3-ish. And in general, like, it was just kind of like the difference between 2 through 15 was not what it is. The difference between 2 and 15 this year is significantly wider than the difference between 2 and 15 even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Is anybody on the precipice of becoming one of those elite teams in this league? I mean, who would you even put money on that within the next 5 years they're whatever? Or do you think it's just still this Alabama-Georgia steamroll and that keeps everybody else down?
I think the answer has to be A&M, but I'm still in the same thing with A&M.
But it's just because Jimbo, but you're fighting the fact that A&M has never been good. They've never been that team.
The only other team that would have come to mind before the last few weeks would have been Florida, but I'm watching what's happening inside that program right now, and it's an absolute disaster. And so
he's not recruiting. He's recruiting better than he did at Mississippi State, but it's still like he's nowhere near recruiting at a top 10 level.
Yeah, he's nowhere near the Georgia recruiting level. It would the only answer, and Jeffrey's right. It's half-hearted. Is A&M. It's the only answer that right now today I'd go, well, maybe.
And this was a conversation that we had on the afternoon show yesterday, and I'm curious to present it to y'all. Does this bode well for the future of college football as a product? Because I just keep wondering if right now, I know Georgia's making a push, so it's not quite as bad as when you had the Warriors and then LeBron over in the East with the Cavs, and it was just kind of you were waiting for Warriors Cavs in the NBA. It's not nearly that, but I mean, when you basically like today, who do you think is a contender? Because the only 3 teams that I think are for sure contenders are Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia.
That's it.
I mean, Ohio State's talented, but
I don't believe in Jalen Hurts, so Oklahoma's out for me.
And I don't believe in Lincoln Riley as much as the hype train.
I hear a lot of people who know what they're talking about saying they expect Utah to be the 4th team just because almost by default. And so Utah's not a national
just
title.
Because they run the Pac-12 and win it?
Yeah, well, they run the Pac-12 and they get to 12, 13-0, and
they do have the advantage. The Pac-12 South right now is just an absolute dumpster fire.
So they get there, but they're not. No one's thinking they could win the playoff. So to answer your question, there's 3 teams that can have a chance to win the title in my mind going into the season. Is that good for college football? I don't think so.
This is a question that kind of popped into my mind. Are we closer to an 8-team playoff, or are we closer to perhaps Power 5 football breaking away?
Ooh, it's good.
Until it actually gets started, I'm still having a hard time that breaking away is imminent.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. It's hard to see anyone in a top AD position. So a Greg Byrne, a Ross Bjork, a Scott Woodward, whoever the guy is at Oklahoma.
Is it still Castiglione or whatever?
Yeah, I think that's right. It's hard to see somebody like that, the guy at Ohio State or Michigan, standing up and saying, hey, this doesn't work. This is stupid. We're leaving so much money on the table. Let's break away. Let's form our own rules. Let's do our own thing. I mean, I don't know that anybody has the fortitude, for lack of a better term, to stand up and be the first guy there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, because in general, the way that the NCAA typically operates, it's never high risk change. It's always the type of change where, okay, we go from the BCS to the college football playoff. It seems like the natural progression is from that point, we'll go from a 14 playoff to an 18 playoff rather than a completely separate entity.
And they are dug in deeply against an 18 playoff. The NCAA.
The only case that I think you could make, for breaking away is the other conferences are now so dead set on the SEC playing 9 games, and the SEC, for obvious reasons, is so dead set on not playing 9 games and not getting rid of the bye game against an FCS team. The only way I can see the breaking away occurring is if that's the only way that the other schools feel like that they can get it to where it's a level playing field. I could see where that move occurs, and that's the only way to force the SEC's hand.
But if he here's how confident Nick Saban is that he's got the system beat. He's for a 9th game. He's like, yeah, sure, bring it. I don't care. I mean, who would their 9th game? Who are they not playing on their schedule this year that if you added that team to the schedule, you'd go, oh boy, that's a game changer for Alabama. I mean, they don't play Kentucky.
I guess you could make an argument like if they had to go on the road against a Florida, or if they had to go on the road against Georgia or play Georgia as a crossover.
Yeah, if you put Alabama at Georgia in week 7. Be a game changer. They play each other next year. It's just the way it works.
And the truth is, the league doesn't want that, because they like the idea of it being the game within the game. The fact that you can have these two teams that are going to probably be inevitable, and then they're going to meet and
still be inevitable, Jeffrey. If they played each other this year, let's say Alabama went to Georgia in week 7 and lost, and then Alabama went 11-1, Georgia went 12-0. They played each other in Atlanta. Alabama won the rematch. They're both in the playoff.
I think you're right. I mean, the problem is, though, Kirby is kind of a dummy, and he does have a game each and every year where the LSU game last year. Yeah. And that's where Alabama and Clemson, I think, separate themselves even from Georgia. Even when they get beat by a score. Georgia got absolutely dusted at LSU last year because of that. It all turned when Kirby called that stupid fake field goal.
Take one more quick break with Jeffrey to tell you about G&M Pharmacy there on South Lamar and Oxford. You can find out more information at 662-236-2222. That's also the phone number to transfer your medications over. Let them take care of you. When you're with them, you can ask about the CBD oil that they offer in multiple different forms. Also, the sildenafil, that is a brand alternative and much cheaper and more effective than Viagra or Cialis, and they offer discretion if so required with that. You can go to TysonDrugs.com, go to GandMPharmacy.com, click Product Request, and you request a prescription right there online if you so desire. So again, 662-236-2222.
We'd like to welcome our newest sponsor to the podcast. It's Home 2 Suites Hilton by Hilton Oxford. It's located at the intersection of South Lamar and Belk Avenue. It's newly opened, all-suite Hilton property, offers guests lots of extra amenities. Each spacious suite has a living area with a sleeper sofa and a fully equipped kitchen. Guests will enjoy complimentary breakfast each morning with lots of options to suit any palate, a fully equipped fitness center, free laundry facility, complimentary Wi-Fi throughout the hotel, and much, much more. Business travelers will enjoy the front patio and fire pit area to relax after a long day. The lobby offers lots of seating options and is the perfect spot to enjoy a cup of coffee while catching up on emails. There's also an outdoor saltwater pool, 2 gas grills, where guests can enjoy the final days of summer. Need to host a meeting or presentation in Oxford? Home 2 Suites has a 570-square-foot meeting room available for rent that can be used in a variety of ways. The meeting room is the ideal space for conducting interviews, board meetings, and classroom or theater-style presentations. Extended stay rates are available, and Hilton Honors Points can be earned for stays and redeemed for bookings. For more information, call 662-238-3400 or visit home2oxford.home2suitesbyhilton.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook for more information about the hotel and special promotions that might be available. Home to Suites by Hilton Oxford. We are your home, too. Don't miss 1 minute of the action at the Vault this season as Ole Miss football arrives this September. Reserve your season tickets with the new 2019 season ticket pricing for just $299. For more information, visit OleMissTix.com. That's OleMissTix.com. Yeah, Kirby is still in the cuter phase. He's not quite to Nick Saban robot stage yet.
Well, because that's not natural for him, though, is a lot of it.
I think he's more Bowden, more Bobby Bowden than he is Saban.
That's interesting. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think the Saban thing is overly comfortable for him. I think he tries to do it because that's how what he saw work, but I don't think that's just his predisposition.
I agree. And I mean, he's obviously more hands-on with the one side of the football than Bowden was, but I definitely think he is more in line with that than he is with Saban, with the guys that are the elite no nonsense process guys.
Ole Miss,
he's more emotional. He's way more emotional than Saban is in terms of coaching a game.
That 3-week stretch next season on Ole Miss's schedule, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it means that you won't lose 5 straight or whatever to end the season, so I guess that's a good thing. I guess I give shout-outs to the league for trying to actively get rid of the bye, if you will, the BYE bye in Week 12, where last year we had basically the grossest week of college football ever. I mean, of course, obviously, the heroes still bet it because what else were you going to do on that Saturday? But I mean, Week 12's got some great matchups. I mean, LSU and Auburn, that's a good one. Alabama's got A&M. I mean, there's at least 2 good matchups.
Ole Miss's early schedule next year makes the Baylor game a must-win.
Whoo, boy. How many tarps does whatever, is it Reliant Stadium? What is it now? Whatever the stadium is in Houston. How many tarps do they have? Because it feels like they're going to have to tarp off the club level for that game.
How many people will let's say Baylor has another 500-ish season. How many people do Baylor bring to Houston for a game?
I mean, the way that I looked at it is we saw what that stadium looked like last year between Ole Miss and Texas Tech.
And that was Ole Miss bringing a lot of people.
I was going to say Ole Miss had more enthusiasm than what I would expect they would have next year. I guess the question mark in this all is Ole Miss able to, let's say this year goes horribly and Ole Miss has a new head coach next year. Does that bring new enthusiasm? Because then I think your best case scenario is what the stadium looked like this year against Texas Tech.
I just don't think Matt getting replaced is overly likely. I think the only way that Ole Miss really sends a lot of people is they find a way to 6 wins this season.
Yeah, I agree. The more that I just kind of talk to people, I think barring a scandal off the field, there's no record that would result in a change.
We say that we haven't seen 20,000 people in the stadium against New Mexico State yet.
I still stand by it.
All right.
Does Waco? Waco's about 3 hours from Houston. Is Houston their largest alumni base? Do they actually have a very central Texas alumni base like that? What is Baylor's kind of situation from that standpoint? Anybody got a clue?
I thought it's just if you're a Baptist in Texas.
Okay.
I say that having a cousin who is a Baptist and a Baylor grad.
Yeah, I knew some Baptists in Ruston that went to Baylor.
Really?
And as Neil has pointed out time and time again, North Louisiana is just East Texas.
It is. So much. So much. Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss takes...
I mean, Ole Miss, for all
Ole
the
Miss
jokes,
will travel.
Ole Miss
They always
does
travel.
Yeah, it's a Labor Day weekend. I mean, there are worse places to spend Labor Day weekend, go have some nice dinners and go to an NFL stadium. There's worse places to do that.
But my point being, I don't think Baylor's taking some huge crowd, and even if Ole Miss takes 20,000 people, it's still a fairly empty stadium.
I guess, didn't Baylor play in the Houston Bowl one year against, like, Vandy? I feel like they brought a decent crowd.
It was last year, wasn't it?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Oh.
I could easily. By the way, I say that with no degree of certainty. I don't think did Vandy play in the Houston Bowl? No, mate. Now I'm starting to think you're right.
The bottom line is this: it's a really difficult start to a season. Is it Auburn, LSU, Alabama in that order, or do I have the Alabama's reversed?
It is Baylor, Southeast Missouri, Auburn, LSU, Alabama.
I mean, Auburn, LSU, and Alabama back to back to back, home away, home.
Here's what bothers me about that if I'm Ole Miss. It's not even those games in a row from a win-loss standpoint. Is that physically you're going through a meat grinder before 2 games that if you're going to do something next year, you need to win, which is at Vanderbilt and then Florida at home.
Now, here's the one thing about it is that going into next season, and I can't believe we're breaking down games next season.
It's okay. Whatever.
No, by the way, quick shout out to the NBA. We have next year's football schedule before we have this year's NBA schedule.
Yeah. Kudos. They're still working on it. They piecemeal release it. We know Christmas Day and we know some openers, and that's about it. So I do think this. LSU's going to have a new quarterback, and Auburn potentially is a new coach and some degree of chaos. Alabama's Alabama. They're just what they are. Although they will have a new quarterback.
Last year was Baylor and Vanderbilt. Baylor won 45-38 in Houston.
I hate that I missed that one.
I actually watched that. It was a pretty entertaining game.
Like I said, I hate that I missed it.
Yeah. What'd you have, the under, Jeffrey?
I want to say
you like the under Vanderbilt games in general, so.
Well, no, I used to like them when they would stop people, and then they stopped stopping people.
Do you know the names of the 2 people competing for quarterback at Vanderbilt this year?
I don't know I know the Ball State kid. I think it's Brad Riley. Is that right?
Riley Neal, I believe is his name.
Close enough.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the timing's bad for what's ahead.
I get partial credit for that.
Yeah, that's fair. Vanderbilt and Florida to me are the 2 most important games in that schedule next season.
Ooh, wow. And I think Florida will be.
It's at home, and if you don't win it, you're just in such a hole at that point, barring upsets, obviously.
And at that point, people are screaming for change. It's kind of Auburn this year where their schedule is kind of interesting up front because if they get going, they're okay. But if they stumble a lot early, by the middle of the year, there's going to be such chaos around the program that it could cause them to lose games that right now today we go, oh, that's a win.
Guys, I'll be honest with you. This is the question that I have, and I've talked to both of you off the air about it. Are we sure Matt Corral's good?
No. Now, I think he is. Watching him throw and stuff, he can really spin the ball.
I think he's really talented, no doubt.
Yeah, the talent's. I mean, does he have?
Are y'all not concerned that he's really not accurate?
He's been really accurate in the parts of practice we've been able to watch. I mean, I've been out there the entire time so far that they've allowed us to watch, and I've watched him a lot. And he's been good. Now, it might be that he's good compared to 3 true freshmen who were swimming, but he does look good. But I haven't watched him throw.
I watched the state game, and when he threw it outside, yes, he throws a good deep ball, but every time, man, like I stumbled on the spring game, and he's missing like swing passes, and anytime he has to throw over the middle, it's never on the money. Like, man, I have question marks with Corral.
I think his mental state will dictate his season.
And the answer to that is we don't know yet. And we won't know until...
And by the way, I'm not trying to make for all the message boards out. I'm not trying to make too much of a spring game, but at the same time, it's like those are supposed to be like auto passes that you hit.
Yeah. Won't know until we see the season. That's what I get the question all the time, and I don't take offense to it. I understand why people ask it. They say, how do they look? I don't know. I don't watch them go against each other. I don't see. What we see is a lot of endo work, and we see them.
The same thing we always saw.
We see they do a drill.
But less.
They do but less. We see a drill that's actually fun to watch, but it's against air. It's their pass route tree drill that Rodriguez very clearly has them working on just the fine points of route running, which is a new thing at Ole Miss.
Whoa. What's a route tree?
Yeah,
is that where you run deep and then sometimes you break it off and run a comeback?
Yeah, you run slants, you run outs.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. It's amazing. It's really interesting. It's revolutionary. And they do it, and the drill is fast-paced.
Do you run this thing? It's called a crossing route or a drag route, where it's about 2 years.
That is the route.
You can have that in an offense. You can have that in a scheme.
It's legal this year. They changed the rule.
A play that helps a quarterback out because it's designed to work against man or zone, and it's a nice, safe throw.
Yeah, I know. But
we're not running digs yet, are we?
Oh no, we're not ready for that.
Come on.
But no, seriously, that's a fun drill to watch. You get to see kind of some arms and you get to see some speed and that kind of thing. And so sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks sloppy, whatever, regardless. But it's not against anybody. So hell, I don't know. There's no pass rush, so I don't know. There's nobody blocking. Corral's not a big, tall guy. You can't tell about pass lanes and stuff, vision lanes. I don't know. So when people say, what are they going to look like? I don't know. I think they're going – it's obvious from watching even the little bit that I'm able to watch. It's obvious that they're going to be a better coached football team. They're going to be more fundamentally and mechanically sound. That's obvious. But how good are they going to be up front? I don't know. I don't watch the offensive linemen. I'll say this. If Memphis doesn't put people out there and they just put blocking dummies out there, I like Ole Miss's chances. But I suspect Memphis is going to put bodies out there, and they're going to have a plan. So I don't know how it's going to work. If Memphis decides not to put a defense out on the field and Ole Miss gets to play against air, they're going to be okay. But I suspect Memphis is going to put a defense out there. So there's just no way to know. And so
on the other flip side is, while I agree with you up front, if Ole Miss's backs are as good as people say they are, the one thing that does make up for a bad offensive line is good running backs.
I do think they're significantly deeper there. Now, notice I didn't say necessarily better because I don't know. Willard's a year older. He was okay last season. Phillips looks good. Scotty's a good running back. I think he proved himself a year ago. Before he got hurt, he was well on his way to a 1,000-yard season in that offense, which I think speaks volumes. I like Connor, and I think Ely, after a few games, has a chance to be impactful. Connor's ahead of Ely right now. They have some depth. Penniman's back. He's lost some weight. I don't think he's 100% yet, but he looks better. He looks like he might be able to give them something. He's kind of if it were a baseball team, he's a bat off the bench that has a chance to be impactful. So there's some more depth there than what they had a year ago. I do think their running game, it has a chance to be okay, maybe even good. But it's all offensively going to come down to how they can solidify up front, and it's going to come down to Corral and his ability to make decisions, his ability to handle adversity, his ability to lead. And he's a redshirt freshman who's yet to make a start. And maybe he can handle it. Maybe he can't. Maybe he has to grow into it. So, there's so much emphasis put on these first couple of games, and we do it too. I don't know that it's fair to Matt Corral to do that.
Bookending this conversation with Clemson, where are we falling on Kelly Bryant not getting a ring?
That was the one thing Dabo did that felt like it was kind of poking his chest out. But I don't. The problem is, I don't know. There might be NCAA rules that if you transfer, you know what I mean. Like,
but if
I just
so,
never
say
know.
that. I don't really have a problem with it, but if that's the case, just lean on that and call it a day.
Yeah, it did feel to me.
Yeah,
It
that
felt to me a little
one, I didn't
vindictive.
like his quotes on it.
Yeah. And now, granted, I didn't see the context how he said it. I just read that he wasn't a part of the team. He doesn't get a ring.
That is correct, yes. And now
But,
we're more used to the pro level where everybody get a ring.
That's very true. And the other thing is, like, I don't know, like, what are roster rules for the C? Like, you know, was he officially not on the roster during the playoff? I mean, does Dexter Lawrence, do the kids that were suspended, do they get rings? I mean, you know what I mean?
I feel very certain that Dexter Lawrence gets a ring.
Yeah,
Bryant
didn't
played through late September.
Yeah, I think he transferred after week 4.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. Well, that's when he was demoted. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't. Without any context of whether or not, as you point out, if that were the case, I would have preferred that he say that. But without any context, like, that was the one where I was like, not sure, Dabo.
You got something going on an hour north, or are you searching for topics today too?
Are any of us, like, do we know what we're doing? I feel like, I don't know, like, I think I do this every year. I always target August because training camps are going, fall camps are going, and then you still realize, like, oh my God, we're still waiting for it. I guess at least there's some preseason action tonight, and there's, you know, I think the NFL's very, very intriguing this year for the opposite reasons of college football. I think you can realistically name probably 10 teams in the NFL that you can see a path where they win a Super Bowl. And I think that at least makes it interesting.
Lou and I did this the other day just off the cuff, and I think we got somewhere around 10. I don't remember which side of it.
All right, here's who I would include. The Saints, the Eagles, the Rams, Packers. I think the Seahawks have an outside shot.
You think the Packers have a chance to win the Super Bowl?
They still got Rodgers.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he did this before where he gets hot. Like, there is a path, in my opinion, where Aaron Rodgers is the best player.
It happens every year. The Saints get to the playoffs, and I immediately look at it and go, I just don't want Green Bay because of Rodgers. That's it. I want nothing to do with them. I'm not saying they're better, but I don't want to deal with that next Sunday.
He's the scariest quarterback to play.
Yeah.
Because he does so much outside the pocket, and he's just such an elite downfield thrower. I think you make an outside shot for the Seahawks. Same thing. I mean, Russell Wilson, you know, is he worth $35 million a year? Probably not, but Russell Wilson's a damn good football player. And then in the AFC, you know, you've got the Patriots. The Browns have a legitimate case to be made. Oh, I'm sorry, the Bears. I forgot the Bears. They obviously have a shot. The Pats, the Browns.
You think the Browns have a shot to win the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of talent on that team. I mean, am I betting on it? No, but if the football gods come down and tell me the Browns win the Super Bowl, once I wake up from my drunken stupor and my 14 Baker Mayfield T-shirts that are vomit stained, I'm not stunned. The Chiefs, I wouldn't bet on it, but I think you made a case. The Chargers, I mean, I think I just named 10 there, right?
Yeah, maybe more than 10.
Colts.
It's why it's
Colts, yeah.
So it's why the NFL is. If you take out the pageantry and stuff, the NFL's far more intriguing than the college game. Maybe not as entertaining, but intriguing.
I can totally.
What requires you to be interested is my team has a chance to win a championship.
It's like this year. If you're a fan of basketball is more intriguing this year in the NBA than it was the last 5 years.
No question. No doubt. I mean, there's
By the way, rest in peace, Tiger Woods.
What do you do?
I think he's DFL.
Really?
Yeah.
He was not that bad when I saw it before we started the show.
Yeah, not good right now.
See, the last shot I saw, he actually hit a par 5 and 2 and had like a 20-foot eagle putt on 12 or 13.
Yeah. He was at 2 under. Let me look at the scorecard. He was at 2 under through. He was at. He is now at 4 over. And yeah, it's getting worse.
We got one final week, right? That's what we got.
I don't know. I just think it's going to be like this. Like, I think there's going to be weeks where he shows up and he feels pretty good, and he's still going to be the best iron player, and he's still going to have the best mental advantage over the field. But I think
he can win I think he can be very competitive and compete to win at the Masters, and I think the PGA, depending on the location. And frankly, he should never play the Open Championship again.
No, I think there are going to be Opens where he has a chance.
With his back and the schedule at that point of the year?
Tom Watson at 59 should have won one.
Tom Watson's in better shape at 59 than Tiger is right now from a back standpoint.
Yeah, but, I mean, at the same time, like, what happens if you get another Open Championship like at Carnoustie where it's a warm summer and, like, you have to plot your way around?
I'm just saying in general, if it's 40 degrees and raining, he shouldn't play the tournament.
He should never have played at Port Rush.
Yeah.
The
U.S. Open's not really winnable for him at this point, in my opinion.
I mean, to me at this point, it's all venue-based. Like, he'll have a pretty good shot at L.A. North.
When is that?
3 years, maybe?
3 years.
I mean, Tiger's going to play 4 tournaments a year now.
Yeah, as he should.
I know you got to go. Anybody going to win the NL Central, or is it just going to be an absolute default thing at the end?
Well, good news for you. Aaliyah and I are headed to St. Louis this weekend, so we'll give you a nice little gap.
Oh, you're seeing the Pirates, though. They have officially rolled over and died.
Yeah, the Central is that good old-fashioned pillow fight right now.
There's
the leader is where in relation to 500? How many games over?
Like 7.
Okay.
Cubs are maybe 8 or 9 over. Let's see. I'm looking. Cubs are actually 10 over. Wow. Cubs are 62 and 52. 3 games up on the Brewers, 3.5 over the Cardinals, and 7 over the Reds. The Reds get the Cubs in Cincinnati for 4 games this weekend, so this is make or break for them.
Crown their ass.
Yeah. Have a good day, Jeff.
All right, guys.
Thanks to Jeffrey for an extended amount of time today. I'm glad he could finally get in front of a microphone, and it's not like he has 4 more hours of this on this Thursday. So thanks to him. We've told you about the upcoming events and stuff. Also, more podcasts up at rebelgrove.com. And MPW Digital. The Soft Verbal is up with Neal McCready and Zach Berry, so you can check that out, as well as another episode of Bourbon South this week. We talked to Mitch McCamey with Kermit's Outlaw Kitchen, Neon Pig, and more. Kind of let him take us through his ideas for food and drink and all that kind of stuff. So that's this week for that. We'll be back with another podcast tomorrow. Probably a little bit of a Fairway Friday. Probably has some other topics as well. A lot of football up on the site at rebelgrove.com and in a variety of forums. So good time to check that out. Take advantage of that Adidas gift card that you can get. Again, information about that's up on social media. It's up on the free board at rebelgrove.com. So see that. Take advantage of it. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.